Hello everybody, welcome back. So we're going to have a look at XRP because there's things to talk about on XRP. And again, just a bit of a disclaimer, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm also not a moon boy, and I don't like making XRP videos unless there's something specific to talk about. So we've had a decent move so far, and it was one of those moves that we anticipated, we managed to nail, and it was based upon the tether pairing and the way that it closed above the 200 exponential and the cloud. This is where I made my last video when we had this candle here. This is a bullish move, and it's not normally the way that you'd want to trade any charts, but I know XRP, I know the way it's behaved, I know the way it likes to trade, and I'll show you just quickly, historically. So above the cloud, above the 200 exponential leads to a pump. We go back in time, what do we have? Above the cloud, above the 200 exponential leads to a pump, and we go back in time a bit further, above the cloud, above the 200 exponential, which is all about here, we get a pump, and even back here, closing above the cloud and above the 200 exponential gets a pump. So this is just one of the things that XRP likes to do, and this is why I always say try and focus on a few coins, because they all react differently to the same indicators that you would use. So not everything reacts the same. They all have their own behaviors and the way that they like to move. So this is how it's behaving, and that's perfectly expected from just looking back in recent history. This is how it behaves. This is what it likes to do, and so it's done it. And now I see people thinking, well, is that the move? Is the move over? Well, the first portion of the most aggressive move is over. Yes. So if you traded that and you've sold, don't feel bad about doing that. That was an appropriate trade. There's been lots of other opportunities prior to this. So taking the profit that you've made from here, putting it into some other coins that have gone, that's the way to really trade. But is this move over? I don't think it is. So there's two things I was going to show you here that there's worth talking about, all right? And could lead to a new all-time high on its dollar pairing, which I know sounds ridiculous, makes me sound like a moon boy, but I think it's worth saying that is plausible, and I wouldn't say it's unlikely. I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, but it's all about balancing the odds, and the odds look quite good, I would say, to at least offer a move of that size, which sounds stupid when I hear it out loud. I'm talking about XRP and blah 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 blah. So this is what we're talking about. So obviously the daily looks great. We can see we're above all major moving averages. We've got our golden cross. We're above the cloud. Every portion of this chart looks good, and we're being held on bullish areas of support. 10 exponential held it here. We've also got a very good looking chart against Bitcoin. So big move up, touch on the 10 exponential, move up, touch on the 10 exponential. I would expect to move up, and again, same kind of vibe going on here. Golden cross above all major moving averages. The interesting things on the 12 hourly and on the weekly. So on my Patreon, people are really good traders on there now, and they are, their attention to detail is exceeding mine, right? And somebody brought this to my attention to say, look, hang on a minute, the golden cross on the 12 hourly was after the golden cross on the daily, which is something you don't normally see. You only really get that on things that basically have extremely messy looking charts like this. So we did get that, and it's true on both dollar and Bitcoin pairing, which adds a little bit extra weight to the next set of uptrend. That's one thing we could look at, but the other thing on the 12 hourly is the Ichimoku cloud. So we've got a conversion baseline cross above the cloud. GQ span above the price action at the time, and obviously the price is above the cloud. No, above a nice big green portion of the cloud. So this sort of move is a trend continuation move, and you only get into one of these when you get the signal. So the signal is based around here. You get in on the trade here, and you get out when the Chiku span touches the price action, or when you get the blue and the red conversion baseline make a cross. So the 12 hourly's got a trend that's still in play, and until it's been cancelled out, I would expect to see more. We'll see what happens over the next week or two. If we don't move, we will have had this trend play out, and that's it, and it's over with. That's done. That signal's over with. But that is something to bear in mind at the moment. But the more interesting thing that I would say, and the most bullish portion of this video is on the weekly. So again, look what we've got here. We're above all major moving averages, and our candles are above the cloud at the moment. That's one thing to bear in mind. That's good. That's a nice thing to see. We are also looking like we want to get across on the conversion baseline and the conversion line and the baseline on on the weekly. That's all very good. But this is the main thing I want to show you, is the money flow index seems to have a very long-standing trend of support. So support, a couple of aboves here, support above, and then maybe we could get another support here. It could come down a little further. Now, what generally happens here when we come down is that we go back up. This is a representation of the entire volume of cash coming into XRP. So cash comes in, cash leaves, cash comes in, cash leaves, in, out, in, out, in, out, shake it all about. And when we have these big moves, they are big. They are big. This is versus Bitcoin, right? So obviously this doesn't represent the dollar value appropriately, but these are big moves, right? So the last time we came down to touch the trend line versus Bitcoin, from the point that we touched the trend line to the peak, we had a 173% move versus Bitcoin, right? It's a big move. Next time we came down to test it here, why am I measuring it there? It was here, so this was your low. We'll measure it from this candle, and then the peak was a 345% move versus Bitcoin. So we are coming down to one of these levels now, plus we've turned up above the 0 point with a positive cross on the MACD. Very bullish stuff on the weekly, right? And weeklies are the ones that mean the most to me. Weekly charts are the best. I'm mostly a spot trader. Derivatives, not really a fan of it. Don't really see the point of it really in cryptocurrency, unless you're trying to play a bear market. I'm not really a big fan of them. I do use them from time to time, but really, there's really no need. And weekly charts give you the best reads of the biggest moves. They just take a bit longer, that's all, and that's fine. I got time. And this looks like a perfect kind of setup for a large move versus Bitcoin on the weekly chart with XRP. And so historically we've got bigger moves every time we do these tests, and we are coming towards the end of what I would expect to be at least the XRP market cycle, right? So we've got the rest of this year, maybe the beginning of next, before the XRP market cycle is complete, right? As it has done in its previous cycle, right? So I've made videos on that. You'll have to watch them if you. But it has a 4-year cycle, basically 3 years down and 1 year up, largely, and an aggressive one at that. Usually peaking very much at the very end of that, and melting faces really, just like it did last time. And I imagine we'll be melting some faces again. But it's hard for people to accept that because we're talking about XRP. It's a very understated, misunderstood coin, right? But from already the things that I've shown you, just in the most basic way, it does respect its chart, and that's why I like it, right? It's not that I'm expecting it to do 1,000,000,000% and be worth, what is it, $589 or whatever it is that people seem to tout it to be worth in the future. I don't know where it's going to go, but what I can say is that it does respect its chart, and its chart does look good, and its chart does lend itself to a really big move versus Bitcoin, which will only mean a much bigger move, or just a generally large move versus its tether pairing. You kind of have the same kind of read on Tether, but it's not quite the same. We do have a rough trend line, but it isn't really the same. It's a bit rough and ready, but it does say the same kind of vibe, which is that we are looking to make a large move, over the coming weeks or maybe even months. This is a weekly chart. Weekly charts can take ages to play out, but when they do play out, they play out to a large extent. We are at resistance. All right, this is the resistance box. Once we're out of this resistance box, finishing at around about $1.45, then the next stage of an enormous move is likely to take place. And this is why I'm saying that I don't see it to be too much of an issue, or out of the realms of possibility for us to make a move all the way up to our all-time high, which would only, well, I say only, it's a large move, obviously, 175% move. Now, if we looked at the way that these have moved last time, or every time that we get these reads on the money flow index, and being above the cloud, above major moving averages, golden crosses, MACD crossing on the weekly, there's a lot of things to suggest that this is, it's not unlikely, and it's not the dreams of a moon boy. This is the analysis of a trader, and this is the sort of things we look at. We look at what's okay. Are there a combination of bullish things? What's the risk to reward? And the risk to me and the reward. I mean, the reward far outweighs the risk. Now, the problem with XRP is that when it finishes its run, it drops massively, and then consolidates for quite a prolonged period of time before it's ready to do its next move, right? So it always drops, right? The idea is to get it before it pumps. Now, obviously, we've already had a decent pump, that just on that 1 week last week, the pump was it was 80%. So we got in on that move. That was based upon TA, based upon a daily setup. This is based upon a weekly setup. Weekly setups offer the bigger moves. They just take a little longer to play out. So I'm very much in favour of this. I know it sounds stupid, but I'm very much in favour of this making meeting its all-time high and might even surpass it. Again, I'm not here to give very specific targets of where it's going to go, but I'm very bullish on it. And these are the reasons why. Hate me in the comments, love me in the comments. Feel free to subscribe and like the video. But yeah, it's all out there. It's all in the open. And for me, it's all just going to be one big ride, because this trade for me has been a trade based upon this entry point here, and all of this has just been noise. A few derivatives played, obviously, because it's such an easy chart to play derivatives with, but mostly the spot trade was taken as we came out of this consolidation. And so I'm not suggesting for anyone to go buy anything. I'm not a financial advisor. This is documentation of my trades and the way I see XRP playing out, and it's going to surprise people. I've said this for since I got into the trade here. I've said this the entire time. XRP will continue to surprise people. It's one of those coins that brings up a lot of emotions, which makes it more fun to trade, because some people hate it and some people absolutely love it. But the idea is to spot something that works, right? And XRP, it works. The chart works, right? And I think one of the reasons for that is that it's such a long-standing chart. I mean, not the Binance one, but historically, it's what goes back to 2013, 14. So an old coin, right? It's an old coin, and with age comes reliability and maturity and wisdom. Now, I'm taking it too far, but you know what I mean. We've got a long, we've got a whole market cycle that's gone through a 4-year period and completed, and this so far is getting towards the end of its next 4-year cycle. So we're almost finishing this one, right? And so far, it's behaved exactly the same way as it did in the previous cycle. There's so much about XRP which is misunderstood. Forget about what you think or know about the technology. I don't really care about any of that. The chart says everything you need to know. Very reliable for a trader to have a chart that basically respects moving averages, Ichimoku clouds, supports and resistances, even in the face of this FUD and the pump groups and all the other things that have come in between it. It messes the chart up, but it still, amongst all of that, respects the rhythm of the chart. It's amazing how it does it. It's one of the best charts to trade. I would suggest anybody who's looking to learn to trade, have a good look at XRP, because it's very reliable in the way that it signals buy signals and gives you really big moves, and it's just a great chart to trade. I'm not saying it's the best thing you could ever buy in the world, far from it, but it works, and that's what counts. Anyway, I'm going to leave it with you there, but thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day and take it easy.